Hello, everybody. It is 1:16 p.m. Central Time on the 21st of November, 2020. Hope you're doing well. 'Tis the season, as you can see here on the screen. It's a little bit before Thanksgiving, but that's okay, right? Okay, guys, we are here to talk about seismic events. I just turned on the display capture so you can see what I see a little bit better. We're using Earthquake 3D, and it's been a few days since I did my last update. Just kind of laying low, watching to see what happens. We're 4 days in on a 5 to 6 day watch on the east coast of the United States. We'll get into the U.S. in a second, but I'd like to draw your attention to what's going on here in the West Pacific. And for new viewers, we're using the program Earthquake 3D. We're using the EMSC feed coming out of Europe and the USGS, of course. We're going to start here where our letter D is. Letter D stands for deep earthquakes, and it's a spot where we watch for deep earthquakes to take place. We have a set of deep earthquakes that have taken place here over the past several days, and going in each direction to the west and southwest from the deep earthquake location that's marked in pink, a series of whitish and lighter colored earthquakes. Those have all struck since our deep events, plural, deep events. Going down across New Zealand, for instance, across the Kermadec Islands, down into the North Island, right here north of Wellington or south of Auckland on the North Island, a 4.8, as well as a subsequent other, or at same time, 4.8 down at the south tip of New Zealand, and a bigger 5.5 on the fracture zone right down here at the period end of Dutch Since period. 5.5 right at the end of that, right at my underwater base. It's like a James Bond base. It'll come up out of the water. And but we have a 5.5 down here at the west-southwest tip of that. Let's go over and show it to you here on the plate boundary map. South of New Zealand, down here again. Coming off of New Zealand, we have a red line that goes down here and then comes over to the west. And the fracture zone is like a stair-step, broken apart area, and you can see the 5.5 is at the western tip of that. Then, all the way up here, another 5.4, about the same sized earthquake, struck on the U-shape bend going in right next to New Caledonia, which is the second 5.5 to strike this week. Additionally, going over to the west into Vanuatu, a new 4.6, and then a stepping stone path of the same sized earthquakes, 4.4, 4.4, 4.1, over to the west, a 4.5, 4.3, 4.5, and then a 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, 4.9. So it takes like a step up each point as we go over to the west. It's going basically up by a point at each location. Once we get over into western Sumatra, Indonesia, we top out at near 5.0. And we had a few volcanic events this past week up here at Mount Sinabung, that is the northwest tip of Sumatra, Indonesia. Also, the same sized earthquakes, 4.7, 4.5, 4.4, reaching out and across up into the Philippines. So that all happened since yesterday. And I'd like to quickly go look and see what's going on the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center. See if there's any new eruptions that we need to know about. Well, look who's at the top of the list. Ongoing low-level ash emissions in steam plume. Well, that's a change from the resuspended ash from wind, isn't it? Which is a change itself from the previous steam burst that they said was just steam with no ash, but there turned out to be ash. Seems like there's something weird going on down in New Zealand with the reporting of eruptions at White Island. You know, it's really weird too, and I'm not trying to chastise anyone, but the seismic activity that came in there. We had the deep 4 point whatever right below the catcher's mitt, in the center of the catcher's mitt of the North Island of the Bay of Plenty. And then followed by new steam bursts a lot. Seems like a lot's going on down there. So going down the list even further, we have Sanjay in Ecuador, Suwanese-Ajima in Japan, Dukono in Indonesia, Reventador in Ecuador, Sabancaya in Peru, Sinabung. Let's see what this is. How big is... Of course, I need to turn off that ad blocker. Or turn on the ad blocker. Let's again try to open that up. There we are. How high is this going? Wow, okay. Well, 10,000 foot high blast at Mount Sinabung. Okay, well, that's nothing to scoff at. It's not exactly huge, but it's not exactly small. Let's see. Anybody else on the list? A lot of eruptive activity at Suwanizajima in Japan. Sakurajima is also on the list in South Japan. And that gets us into yesterday. Fuego and a few others. Okay, so the number of volcanic eruptions actually is low in comparison to where we've been in the past. I mean, we've seen like 10 to 12 volcanoes just in Indonesia erupt in the past in one day's time. Yes, 10 or 12 separate volcanoes on one different day from when we had a bunch of deep activity going on over here a couple years ago. But now there's just a handful, and like I said, Sinabung, S-I-N-A-B-U-N-G, Sinabung. A lot of people think I'm saying Cinnabon. But anyway, they're at Sumatra. Going up into Myanmar, we have a 4.5, and that goes around the bend of the plate. I'll show it to you here. The bend of the plate boundary, marked in the red line here, going over into China. So that's where the new earthquake is. It's roughly the halfway point between these, here at Sumatra, and these over here at Afghanistan, if you go around the bends of the plate. That this is the fulcrum point, that middle point between our sets of earthquakes. Now there's a new middle point, Nepal, and another middle point, here at the northwest tip of Sumatra, Indonesia. So if we were to go to the halfway point between these two, on the red line, it puts us in western Nepal, China, North India. And on the southeast side, it puts us at Smith Island on the northwest tip of Sumatra. Both of those should get hit by something larger than what's in between. As we go over to the west, just one lone earthquake in Iran on the tip of our arrow east of Tehran, southeast of the Caspian Sea here. And we have a bigger red line on the south tip of Iran. Let me show it to you this way. So the USGS map has the plate boundary going along South Iran, and on North Iran, we have our arrow, but USGS has nothing. It's a flow point around North Iran and South Iran, but to see it, I could show it to you better on Google Earth. So coming over here to the Mideast, here's Iran, here's Afghanistan, here's Pakistan. Do you see the plate, how it bends and it looks like a flowing river almost? But these are mountain ranges. And so the flow of the seismic activity follows that on the north side and the south side. And it's usually about the same size activity on both sides, so I wouldn't be surprised if a new similar-sized earthquake, or maybe even a little bit bigger, struck on the plate boundary down here to the south as well. We have a bunch of old volcanoes and laccoliths. A laccolith is a bulge in the plate from magma that protrudes in and comes in off the plate boundary from down below. Now let's go over into Europe, and before we even get into the Mediterranean, just check it out really quick. 4.3 earthquake struck right on the back end of our arrow in Poland. And I'd like to get the info just to show you guys something. Notice the USGS is carrying a 4.3. Why does that matter? Well, it's been a sticking point with some people trying to excuse the lack of reporting of earthquakes, saying that the USGS does not report anything under 4.5 internationally, and that's people online. USGS does try to report, I think. So we need to give them a little credit where credit's due, and they're starting to cover smaller earthquakes under 4.5 internationally. So big ups on them for doing that. Look at this, though. Okay, so let's just get the info on this now. It says it's at a 10-kilometer depth, but that is auto-generated depth. I would think it's probably a little bit more shallow than that. We are next to some mining down here, but these are, well, it looks to me like they're tailing ponds over here. But the mining might be coming from here. I don't know. I don't know about the Polish mines, but I do know that we're on the edge of the craton. If we look here in Poland, just really quick, there's this bend in the plate that goes back down to the S-shape side of the craton in Eastern Europe. Those are mountain ranges that are covered in trees, making it a little bit easier to see. But turning my place marks back on, you'll see at every bend point, we have a volcanic field that's right here, for instance, the Sheb Basin, the East Eifel volcanic field, going over to the east, the Bruntal volcanic field, down to the Nograd, over all the way to the south, Harghita, and then to Luceret as we go back around to the south. So it's basically a version of the United States edge of the craton, lined with volcanoes, but it's in Eastern Europe. It's kind of the same shape and everything. But it's coming from the opposite direction. We'll get into the United States in a second. Now, going over across the Pyrenees, which is right here at the France-Spain border, we just have a 2, and then we have a bunch of other 2.0 range activity in the waters of Portugal and Gibraltar. The biggest of the bunch, a 3.7, coming in east of Gibraltar in the tip or the middle of the tip of the arrow. And the reason we have an arrow there, let's go back over to the USGS map again. Look out here along Spain and Gibraltar and South Portugal. Do you see the thick red line? That's again the plate boundary coming off of Africa and going out to the Canary Islands to the south and over to the west to the Azores. So far, the Azores has remained pretty much high and dry as the Canaries are repeatedly getting hit. Now we have earthquake activity right at La Palma this time. Now previously, this little island right here to the east-southeast of La Palma, I don't know the name of it right off the tip of my tongue here. Let's go and see. This little guy right here, a big cliff collapse took place at this one. And let me turn on the borders and labels, see if we can get that. San Sebastian de la Gomera. This. But now the new earthquake activity is coming in more closer to La Palma, which is the island where everybody's worried, at least the professionals, about the potential of a collapse that could send a tsunami over to the east coast of the United States. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying we have the collapse that happened next to there, and a bunch of earthquake activity has started to take place at the Canaries. So I said I'd mention the Mediterranean. Let's get into it. So looking down across the eastern Mediterranean, we'll start in Romania, where a swarm has broke out, or a little outbreak, a 3.6 and a couple other 3s striking over at the eastern side of the Craton over in Romania. Then back over here at the Italy, what is that, the Italy-Serbia border? Oh man, they're going to kill me for not knowing. Hold on, Croatia. Oh no, oh they're really going to be mad now. They'd be like, how dare you? Okay, here we are. So we're at Croatia, and we're right next to the Austria border. Going to the west, we have Italy, and it's just a little bit of activity. It's not that much, at least size-wise right now. But we go back down across into Greece, and that's where the predominance of the activity has taken place. Again, we got to remember, a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago, we had our 7.0 earthquake that struck here with tsunami. Right here, where the earthquakes are still carrying on. But you'll notice it's just a little itty-bitty stack. As the energy has started to flow out to North Europe, it starts to die down where it was stuck. And it was stuck, obviously, at the Aegean Sea. Also worth noting, another 4.3 struck around the same time in the last 48 to 72 hours. And that's over here, again, west of Greece. So one 4.3 struck up in Poland, the other 4.3 struck west of Greece. Let's compare and show you why that happened. Equal distribution of force out from here over to the west and up to the north around Romania and going into Poland. Again, USGS map does not have anything on it going across Europe, but look what we have. We have a big arrow that mimics the mountain range, and that's the way the earthquakes flow. Okay, so the other activity, one lone deeper earthquake, not exactly extremely deep, but 186 kilometers deep, down below South Italy. And we have a few volcanoes here. We have Stromboli, we have the volcano called Volcano. Right? Is that where the word volcano comes from? I don't know. But I will tell you this, there's Stromboli, there's Panarea, Salina, volcano, like I said, and the deep earthquake down below there. I would say that probably means we need to watch our volcanoes over in Europe. At least in Italy, I mean. Watch the active eruptions, see if they increase. Aussies, guys, check this out. You don't see it on here, but two separate earthquakes struck. One, near 3.0, struck right here on this little island. Let me show you what's there. And this matters only for my Australian viewers. Okay, here we are. There's Adelaide. There's the island. I don't know what the name of this thing is. Kangaroo Island, of course. Of course. Of course. Okay, an earthquake struck at Kangaroo Island, but we issued our warning for Adelaide. And Adelaide has now been hit, so check it off the list. We also saw a new earthquake strike over here right at the border, I think. Right going into Queensland. But that is not on the feed. But the other one I want to draw your attention to, two earthquakes struck a 2-point something struck right down here north of Perth. So check Perth off the list. So Perth has been hit, Adelaide has been hit, the center north portion of the craton has been hit, the western coast has been hit, and Queensland technically has been hit. But I would look for something just a little bit bigger in Queensland. The only spot left to move is down near Uluru, Ayers Rock. Uluru. But just had to bring you up to speed on that. Go over and check the Australian feed if you want to see any of those earthquakes. They're not on this feed, obviously. Going across the Pacific, a new 4.8 struck on our southern arrow. And our southern arrow, we are right next to the island, Easter Island. It's this little speck of a dot. I can't even really see it here on the feed. But Easter Island. Now, there's something there that goes to the north. You see connecting between our two arrows, looks like a lightning bolt shape here. Well, let me show you on the USGS plate boundary map here. And like I said, we're next to Easter Island. Here is Easter Island. Is that what it is? Isle de Pascua? Am I wrong on that? Where's Easter Island? Hold on. I am wrong on that. Or am I? Thought they called it Easter Island. Okay, I gotta go look. Hold on. I'm nerding out. That's the way it goes, guys. You start getting a little nerdy. No. There it is. It is Easter Island. But it's also called Isla de Pascua. Easter Island. Figure the USGS wouldn't have that on there. Okay, wonderful. There's the volcano on the south tip. Notice the USGS doesn't have the volcano marked either. Although you can see it's circular shaped here. My goodness. Okay, so we have an earthquake striking next to it on the plate boundary. And it's a fracture zone that goes north-south. Again, I said it looks like a stair step here, going north and south. And then it connects east by southeast. So look what we have down here. Nothing. No earthquake activity, right? I think some 3.0 range activity was reported in here last night, but nothing major. It was more down here, down to the south by Antarctica. But right in the middle, I would look. I would look right in here for new seismic activity to take place that's bigger than what's up to the north. Think of this like a train coming across a trestle, and at the end of the trestle, there's a mountain in the way. And instead of course, going through the mountain, it will go around the mountain when it impacts. And the same thing happens with this seismic force. When it impacts into a plate, it will try to go around it as opposed to brute force through it. Therefore, we have to watch down around the bend of the plate at the halfway point between the end, where the X is, and where the earthquakes currently are. And that puts us again in South Chile. How big? Something bigger than the 5.1 that's currently here. Since we have a 4.8 coming across, that indicates something's getting ready to hit. Should be very soon, too. It shouldn't be very long. Should be within the next 2 days. Up to the north, across Peru, we have an earthquake right at Sabancaya volcano, 4.8. Normally it's on either side of the volcano, but this time it's right at the volcano itself, which means Sabancaya is probably getting ready to flare up a little bit, at least activity-wise. I don't know how big. I don't forecast eruptions, but whenever I see an earthquake at a volcano, I watch the volcano for an increase. 4.5 equally spaced up to the north, following to another 4.7 and another 4.7. Colombia and Venezuela. You can also add in a swarm of earthquakes happening at Puerto Rico, a new earthquake over at the Haiti-Dominican Republic border, right on the back end of our arrow. The only thing that didn't happen last week in the Caribbean that I was really looking for it to happen was for seismic activity to take place over by the Cayman Islands going to Jamaica and Cuba. Still hasn't been hit at all. It went completely quiet out there, and let me show you what's there in the middle of the Caribbean. The stair-step fracture zone here. So we are caught between Guatemala and over to the east, and it's transferring. I mean, the energy is transferring over to the east. At least out of South America, it's coming up at least as far as Venezuela, following our arrows. And it's a perfect match with two of the same-sized earthquakes, 4.7 and 4.7. But up here, I would expect a new earthquake to fill in the middle point, and it still has not struck. So keep watch there, and the seismic activity also is accompanied by volcanic activity. Now, I mentioned Fuego volcano, right here, where the letter V is. Now, let me show you on the USGS map what's there as well. The two plate boundaries coming together. The one that goes over to the east into the Caribbean, and the other going over to the west out into the Pacific. And where they meet, we have a volcano, Fuego. But we actually had two eruptions last week, Fuego and Santa Guido. But no big release over to the east yet. So I look in the middle between our current sets of earthquakes, which puts us back to Cayman Island. And again, like I said, nothing got hit this past week, so I'm just watching myself personally. The warning has now come and gone. Over to the west by northwest, we go out into the North Pacific, and I mentioned Japan, but I didn't really talk about it very much. The same sized earthquake activity. Look at this. 4.9 on the Izu Ridge, 4.6 and 4.4 just southeast of Tokyo, 4.9 again off the northeast coast of Japan, coast of Honshu basically, and then a 4.2 up on the North Island of Hokkaido. Now all four of those earthquakes reside on the plate boundary. So, but where are they on this feed? You don't see them? This is a 24-hour feed from the USGS. The red line is what I want to draw your attention to. Now look down here. Do you see the equal spacing on the four different earthquakes across Philippines? Those struck today. They're the white-colored earthquakes here on the feed. So hold on a second. Look at it this way. 4.4, 4.5, 4.7, 5.0. They're kind of clustered in, but each one is filling in the previous one's middle point. Now the same thing could be said for these sets of quakes, only they're 4.9s instead of 5s. So while this one's a 5, this one's a 4.9. What's the difference? Not much, 0.1. But it's a spacing that I want to draw your attention to on these. Here, 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 and here. And up to the north, of course, here, 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 and here. But the USGS map doesn't have it. These are yesterday's quakes marked in pink. So yesterday's quakes, today's quakes. Two sides of a region that's shifting as a result of deep earthquake activity coming up from below the West Pacific. As we go up and across, we have a huge open silent area here across all of Kamchatka, Russia, but Kluchevskoye volcano put off a 20-something thousand foot high blast 2 days ago, right in the middle of this. So going from the earthquakes in Japan over to the earthquakes in Alaska, that middle point right here. And that erupted with a big blast. Now, I would think there would be new seismic release in the middle of here very soon. Aleutian Island's going to Kluchevskoye, or going to Kamchatka, right at the pinnacle tip of the bend of the plate boundary. Better way to show it to you is on the USGS map here. Right up in here, I would expect a new break or a release. First, because we had a big eruption. Second, because it's the middle open silent zone, and it should be bigger than what's on both sides. What's on both sides? 4.9 on one side and a 4.1 all the way over here east of Anchorage. East side, maybe 50 miles east of the Air Force Base. 4.1. They have it listed in southern Alaska. But wait a second. Okay, hold on. Let's get all the smaller earthquakes turned on here. So in the past 2 days, you should be able to see it. We got a fair amount of activity going on across Alaska in 48 hours. Sometimes we don't have hardly any activity going on up here. Maybe a handful, a dozen. But in this case, in the last 2 days, it's a pretty big outbreak. And you can see where it starts. It starts here along the coast. Goes through Anchorage, where a predominance of the earthquake spread out. And then it focuses in north of Mount Denali onto the plate boundary. There's just a few up to the north. And up to the north, these are by the pumping operations to the northeast. And up to the northwest, we're on the edge of the deformed portion of the craton. Going down across Canada, look at this. A new 4.0 earthquake, 3.9, came in next to Haida Gwaii, as well as 2s coming out of Canada. Now, a lot of people tell me, why don't you check the Canadian feed? I do check the Canadian feed. Turns out that the Canadian feed is 30 days old, and the earthquakes that are on there might get a handful of 0s, 1s, and 2s get reported in a few days' time. Unless something significant strikes here, we don't check it. Again, because they updated, it's a 30-day feed, it throws off all the other feeds. But if you go check their site, you'll see, like I'm saying, just a bunch of small earthquakes going across here. But it does make a connecting line from Haida Gwaii where this earthquake is to the north, all the way down here into Vancouver Island, where that's where our earthquakes pick up, and one of the more significant sized quakes of the last 48 hours, a 3.0 earthquake right east of, well, let's see, Victoria, north of the Strait of Juan de Fuca right here where the star is. And I would just like to say we had a slow slip taking place up here. And from what I've heard, at least rumor is online, that they said the slow slip stopped. And they issued a statement a couple of days ago saying the slow slip ETS for the season is over. Now, I don't know what they're talking about because I'm clicking here and look, for instance, the 18th, 62 epicenters divided between Northern California and Oregon. All the way up to the north, we have a cluster in Vancouver Island's northwest tip. But going forward to the 19th, look what happened. It focused back in down at the Oregon border and started to increase in number. We have 84. Then you move forward to yesterday and look what happened. Boom, a new outbreak. This is on the southern arm of the Juan de Fuca 200, going from Northern California up into Southwest Oregon. So while that's all going on, we had something else start to take place in earnest across Oregon. Again, in the past few days, we clustered out with tremors in Oregon in particular. You can see them here on the screen. And then a series of hot spots appeared across Oregon, going up into South Washington and Northern California, right around here. Only around here. He didn't have any going either to the northeast, to the northwest, to the southwest, or to the southeast. Just a pocket right in here of statewide release of hotspots, breaking the state lines going up into South Washington, down into California, letting us know it wasn't some kind of statewide burn or something. And there's no way they're going to be doing a statewide coordinated burn between thousands of sites all at once. And that's exactly what happened. Now, there's no seismic activity to report. No earthquakes out of Oregon again, which is very, very suspect. But we're not going to chastise them. Let's go look at the smaller earthquakes that did take place. So there's no significant sized earthquakes out of Oregon, but there are a few microquakes reported. Let's start up here in the north. Like I said, we're in the Strait of Juan de Fuca, a 3.0 earthquake. But going down to the east by southeast, let's go check it. Oh, wait, an explosion. Okay, well, let's just move on. Let's go down to the east by southeast from there and go look this one up. Ashford, Washington. Okay, now I'm not going to talk too much about the explosions, but if we start seeing a bunch of explosions getting reported, we would think they're not explosions and that they're actual seismic events taking place. But so far, just one. This earthquake brings us in right on the foot or the flank of Mount Rainier, the most famous stratovolcano in the Pacific Northwest, and on the southeast side of Seattle. Don't worry, it does not mean it's going to erupt. Now, the other smaller earthquakes are basically striking just on the other side or the south side of Mount Rainier. Let's get that info. Here's a 1.1 east-southeast of Ashford, Washington. And again, I do this for most of the smaller earthquakes just to see where they're coming in. We're going around Mount Rainier for the most part. And notice this is not an explosion either. So I'm making note of explosions versus not explosions. We have to keep track of those. Here's a 1.3. 1.3 in Washington. Well, again, look at that. It triangulated from where, you know? Well, okay, we're at the volcano directly. And we're right on the side of Mount Rainier again. Over to the east-northeast, 0.7. What's this one? Okay, we're 1.5 kilometer depth in Teat, Washington. Paste and search. We're going to go see what's there. Ah, yes, guys, it's been a few days since I've looked up any of these earthquakes. Ah, yeah, I know. Wait, what's this? Wow, hey, hold on. We got ourselves an electrical substation. Big time, too, not just a little one. A pretty noteworthy size electrical substation there. Well, isn't that very interesting? Make note of the electrical because that's playing into earthquake activity. Our high voltage power lines come right through the area, it looks like, and connect over to here, where they come down the hillsides. You can see them, hopefully. The towers here. And they obviously connect in over to this power generating station here. What is this? Where does this go? Oh, they connect across here. And they branch this way. And they keep going. There's 3 sets of towers there. Boy, I want to follow it to where it's being generated from, don't you? Aren't you curious? It doesn't matter. The point is that the earthquakes are striking next to where these power stations are. Let's go over to the east, check out this 1.7. Oh, an explosion. Now wait. We start getting multiple explosions across an area. I got to start looking them up. Again, there could be a quarry here. There could be something there that's leading to the explosion. Let's go look it up and go see. Get a sip of my coffee while we do that. Okay, now this is one of those cases where we do not have a quarry in the nearby vicinity at all. We don't have anything of any significance here at all, at least as far as I can see. Let's zoom in and see. Oh, wait. What is this? Train tracks. Oh, no. See, okay, this gets into Tattoot finding the hot spots coming along the train tracks, and that the train tracks may be acting like long antennas in their own right. And Tat has made a few videos on that already, so we don't even really have to speculate on that. He's been showing us the hotspots at the train lines. So we do have an earthquake next to a set of train tracks, and it's not like we have train tracks everywhere across the country, although there are a lot. It's very rare that I'm zooming in on them, especially with an earthquake, especially at a time where my buddy is talking about the train tracks and the hotspots. That's just too weird. Just something worthy to note. We have to keep track of all these. Somebody should write it down. Let's go down here to the south, down into Highland, Washington, and go see. Now, this is the same sized earthquake, but it's not an explosion. So, an explosion along the train tracks. What do you think? Oh, wait. Highland, Kennewick. Okay, we have a canal system here. And the canal system's obviously going to be providing water for the farming that's nearby. I'm wondering if there's anything else here that I should try to find. We have a quarry, but it's not an explosion, is it? Again, one more time, it's not an explosion, even though it's up at the surface. Now, wait a second. This is a earthquake at the surface right next to a quarry, and it's not listed as an explosion. That is just so strange. Let's see what else we have nearby. We have a road. I'm looking for any kind of high voltage, anything that could be leading to the earthquake. But when I'm next to a quarry, and it's right at the surface, unless there's something else of significance here nearby, what do we have? Oh, dude, no way. Another large electrical substation. And big high voltage power lines. The big tower kind. Not the kind that go bring power to your house. I'm talking the big kind. Kind of hidden right there, but there it is. There is no doubt about it. These power lines go right through here. You can see the towers on each one. And that's where the earthquake is. No way, man. Okay, I told you, we have to keep track because this is going to start to make sense. As the plate is shifting, there's an electrical discharge that can happen up out of the plate. You know, a lot of lightning comes out of the ground, right? Okay, what about this 1.5 up here? Right next to or east of Seattle. Oh, wait, another explosion. I mean, okay. We have too many now. It's official now. You have too many explosions all of a sudden. So they're not just blowing stuff up in the middle of nowhere all over your state. We would have explosions detected all over the United States if we were able to detect explosions made by people, from Tannerite and target practice. So where is this one coming in? Oh, wait. No way. Look, we are right next to another set of high voltage power lines. Look at that. So here's what I think is happening. I think that there's an electrical explosion happening, basically. Maybe a mile or two even from the power lines themselves, spreading out from the power lines. That's what I think. I might be wrong, but to me, it seems like, okay, there's energy coming up out of the plate, or it's coming out of the power lines going down into the plate. Either way, it's spreading out a couple miles away from where the power lines are actually physically located to a weak point that it comes up, and boom, we get ourselves something coming up. But we again have a quarry right here. And I'm going to say, look at this over here. Even bigger high voltage power lines. This is like 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 different sets where they cross. It's starting to get a little weird that they're all so close. Let's go down here and check out this 1.0. Amboy, Washington. Okay. Northeast of Amboy, Washington. Well, they wouldn't list this as an explosion, would they? If they did, it would create panic. We're right inside of the middle of the crater of Mount St. Helens, where this small series of earthquakes are taking place. So we're inside Mount St. Helens, we're up at Mount Rainier, and then boom, boom, boom. I don't know, guys. Let's go down and check this 2.8, see what's going on there. I have to go look up each one of these, and keep in mind the plate is shifting. Onalaska, Washington. Onalaska, Washington. Put the coordinates in again. So there's a lot of small earthquake activity up in Washington, guys. It really is. Compared to where we normally are with just a handful. Okay, what do we have here nearby? Of course, Onalaska. Onalaska. Oh, wait. No way. Look what's right here. High voltage power lines, the big kind, not the kind that go to your house. I'm talking the big ones. Look at that. Goes right across the field. Carries on this way. And the earthquake epicenter, man, it goes right next to it. Here are the lines. There's the earthquake. It can't be chance. Can't be. Too many of them. Way too many of them. Way, way, way too many of them. Let's go down into Oregon, where we have another 1.7. Man, we sure have a lot of 1.7s. This one's now, when I click on it, it's listed as a 1.8. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hit the microphone there. Clicking on the microphone. Oh, man. There we go again. Dang. So, where are we? Let's go look. Here's the earthquake epicenter. And let's look around it. Oh, wait. Ha, look what's right here next to it. One of the only spots with a clear cut, looks like, in the whole county. Comes up and goes over. And the clear cut contains high voltage power lines. And it goes right up here, right next to where the earthquake is. It carries on up to the north. I mean, what? Come on. It's too many. Let's go on. 1.4. Coburg, Oregon. And these are all small. So while they're not significant sized earthquakes, it is encouraging to see Oregon reporting any earthquake activity. Though sometimes they don't report anything for a long period of time. Okay, 4.8 kilometer depth. What is at the earthquake epicenter? This is far down below, 4.8 kilometer. Is there anything of any significance? You bet there is. There is something of significance right here on two sides, but really close. It looks like, yep, another set of high voltage tower power lines. The big kind. 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. 3 sets of them right next to it. And then you've got your smaller power lines that go on the street, but I'm not talking about those. And then it comes down here and connects up with like what looks like another set. And it goes into the metal towers with 3 on each. So it can't be chance or coincidence. There's too many of these. There's just too many. Let's carry on down to the south. Let's go look up this little cluster. 1.9, Anderson Springs. Man, so the power lines are getting hit. The plate is shifting. Piezoelectric, discharge coming up out of the plate. Or going down into it. It could be coming out of the power lines, I suppose, but they would maybe detect that leakage of some kind. So where are we? We're at Anderson Springs. Well, wait, I do recall this being another location entirely. This is also called Cobb. This is also called geysers. And when you zoom in on this, we have electrical generating stations here. These are high-capacity turbines that are turned by steam, and each one's producing thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of kilowatts of power, and the steam is being taken from drill points that get the steam from the volcanic field here, from Clear Lake. So we're at another spot, again, we're at another spot down to the south. Oh wait, yeah, we're at this spot where the big stack is, down to the south, in California. Should I carry on? I mean, I think I proved my point. Coming out of Washington, going all the way down across Oregon, going down into Northern California. So far, all of the locations that I've looked up, save one of them at a quarry, are coming in directly next to power lines and volcanoes. Let's carry on, though. Let's just keep going. 1.1 up at the north tip, McCloud, California. And no, I'm not going to be cracking the Highlander joke out of respect for Sean Connery. Yeah. There was a time when I could crack a Sean Connery joke. Now, wait a second. We don't have any power lines here. Look what's actually here. Mount Shasta. That's right. Mount Shasta at McCloud. So Mount Shasta is a stratovolcano and right on the side of it. Okay, well, there's no power line there. Instead, it's a weak point that Mother Nature can discharge either power or seismic activity up out of the plate there. Carrying on over to the east, we're between Lake Tahoe and Pyramid Lake, and we have a line of earthquakes going around the area in between the two. Do you see that? With just one earthquake north of Pyramid Lake. The rest inside Pyramid Lake, going down to the south, at the tip of Lake Tahoe, and to the west. There's something here in between all of these earthquakes. And I've showed it 1,000 times in my update. I'll show it again now. It's a giant oval shape right here between Lake Tahoe and Pyramid Lake. And I will turn off all the borders and lines and everything. You can even turn off the place marks. There we go. This. I think this is the caldera of an ancient supervolcano with two basins on the either side of it, and then it's lined itself with smaller volcanoes. Earthquakes go around the outside and go into the middle of it, as well as a series of hot spots and fires break out inside of this thing and around it. A lot. Enough that it's getting suspect, starting to look like it's possibly an ancient supervolcanic caldera, like the one down to the south. Now, speaking of down to the south, that's where our larger earthquake of the day took place. Look at this, or of the past couple days. We had a 4.0 range strike out here at Monte Cristo Hills, Volcanic Buttes. So that is the biggest of the bunch, but if you add in the rest, it becomes a jumbled mess that you can't even see where the 4 is. So the 4 is in the cluster here, and the cluster is pretty big. The number of earthquakes there has gone up through the roof. We call that a frequency increase down here at Monte Cristo Hills Volcanic Buttes. We also have a frequency increase. The number of earthquakes has increased at Mono Lake, right at the California-Nevada border, and across the border back down into the supervolcano, confirmed supervolcano, down at Long Valley Caldera. Let me show it to you. This. So we have a bunch of earthquake activity inside of the caldera. We have a bunch of earthquake activity up here at the California-Nevada border, east of Mono Lake. And we have a bunch of earthquake activity over here at Monte Cristo Hills. All three of them are connected together. They're all right next to each other. And turning on the borders and labels, here's the California border right in the middle of the screen. So, seismic all the way around it, then spreading out from it in a diagonal line, basically next to nothing down at Ridgecrest. And I'm talking onesie-twosies. Look at this. 1.4, 1.5, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, whoops. 1.6, 1.4, 1.7, 1.8. In other words, it's all the same sized activity spread in a line across maybe 75 miles, starting up here at Cozo Volcanic Field and ending down here at the Lava Mountains. And both spots where we start and where we finish are interesting. So let me show you what's at the north side, up here at Cozo Field, Cozo Volcanic Field. And there are our geothermal electrical turbines. Lots of them. And it's at the Devil's Kitchen geothermal pumping operation. That's what they call it. And they're all over the place here, these turbines, with the pipelines getting the steam to turn the turbines. And like I said, a line of earthquakes going down to the east-southeast, dead ending into the lava mountains. We're just beyond the lava mountains. We also have something pretty interesting out here. These, I don't know what to make of it. We've got some formations built into the desert out here that are just a little bit odd. And again, we're right next to the test facilities. I mean, we've got, look, 2 giant microwave towers of some kind there. Again, this is right next to the test facilities over here for China Lake. It's right on the other side of the mountains. I just have to make note of that. It could be just private owned, it could be government owned, but that's where we dead end into. So we start at the power generation, we dead end down into the test zone of some kind. Now, do I need to look the rest of these up? The 1.9, 2.2, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.4, going all the way around here. It's pretty obvious where we're centered. We are centered here with the bulk of the activity. A big old swarm is taking place. Going back up behind it, we have new 3.0 range going all the way up along the coast. The plate is still shifting, slow slipping. Even though the professionals said it stopped, we had 200 yesterday, right here at the California-Oregon border. We have a boatload of hot spots that have been breaking out across Oregon, South Washington, and Northern California. And I haven't even gotten into the swarm that's happened over here above the magma chamber for Yellowstone yet. But let's just talk about that. Yellowstone's magma chamber is swarming. Central Idaho. The magma chamber for Yellowstone goes down below all of Idaho. It starts up at the surface at the park at Wyoming. It goes down at an angle down below Idaho, and the feeder for it actually comes from below Oregon, up and at an angle. So really, we're at the center point above it where the swarm is happening. Now there's something there as well. Power lines. Already showed that in previous updates. This update is starting to get into a power line update. Now, it is interesting to see how many are there, right? Let's go down to the east-southeast. Let's just go take a look all the way over in eastern Nevada and go see what's there at Alamo, Nevada. And we are down in the crust again, 8.2 kilometer depth. Always important to pay attention to the depths on these if they do an actual depth calculation. Sometimes they just do the auto-generated 10 or 5 kilometer and leave it. So deep down in the crust, down below this spot, what's here? Well, you'll see there's other earthquakes that have struck all the way across here, and they're all about the same size except for that big 5.4. But look, do you see what's here in the middle of the desert? Gigantic power lines. The regular kind, I mean, these are big, but these are huge. So yeah, we've got ourselves large power lines going through the middle of the desert, and that's where our earthquake is. And that's where the previous earthquakes have all taken place along. It can't be chance. We're in the middle of the desert. And high voltage power lines don't go everywhere across the middle of the desert. Let's go up to the east-northeast up here. 2 1.6s. I'm interested. Carlin, Nevada. 2 of the same sized earthquakes out in the middle of northeast Nevada. We're not normally up there. So what is there? Let's go see. Well, I got my coffee right here. That's what's right here. Hey, hold up. Hold up. 2.3 kilometer depth. This is a mine. This thing's not 2.3 km deep. I wonder if they've created some kind of faults here just by doing so much mining, though. That it's a fault earthquake, but the fault is really just a man-made fault. Is there anything else here nearby? Let's just zoom in and see. It's not listed as an... Oh, wait. Look. These are their electrical turbines. These are electrical turbines right here. That's major electrical generation right there. Of all the places. And it's not an earthquake. Or it's not a explosion. It's an earthquake. Or is it an explosion? Let's go over to this 1.6. No. We have another one. But this is many miles away. And it's at 2.6 kilometer depth. So something's going on here. Let's go see. So we're going from a power generation station all the way over here. Look where we're going. What's here? Looks to me just like back country. We've got some craggy peaks, some old mountain roads. Is there anything else? Oh. I spoke too soon. Hold on. What do we have going on down here? We've got some road activity. Now, this is to stop erosion along the roads. Is there anything of any significance nearby? See, look at how long this takes. I can see why professionals never really bothered to do the extensive legwork to look up all the earthquakes to see where they're happening, to figure out if something was going on or not. Like they just said, screw it. There can't be a relation. Even if there is, I'm not going to go look it up. That's going to take forever. Okay, well, this might be the lone quake, the lone one that's set out here in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't have anything next to it. Nothing of any kind. We have roads, but I'm looking for these big, high-voltage power lines. And I don't see any. Okay, so marked faults, there could be. We're at a weak point in the plate where there's erosion and spring activity. That's an entirely separate thing that can lead to seismic, but it's so small. It kind of doesn't matter unless it's next to the power lines. Then it matters. Okay, over to the east, over into Utah. I guess we'll start at the furthest point east and work our way up to Magna and back down to the southwest. This should be pretty easy, and these are all about the same size as well, 1.4 to 2.0 basically. You guys, again, the finding on the power lines, people didn't agree at first, but there's so many that I would just start to say, look, I mean, there's so many that you cannot ignore it. That if you did ignore it, you would be foolish to ignore it because it's the first time anyone's ever noticed. So we have to watch now, just going forward, to see if it's a pattern that's going to keep going on. And if it is, then that's how you establish a pattern. But the first time we noticed was this year. Like, not just this year, in the past couple months. So here we are. We're at another quarry. Or is that a quarry? That is a quarry. Oh, no, wait. Hold on. We've got a huge electrical station here. For the quarry. Is this an explosion? No. But it's up at the surface, but it's not an explosion. They don't have it listed as an explosion or a quarry blast. We're next to another power generating station. Wow. Let's go up to the north and look at the 2.1. That was the 1.4 right here. Let me mark it again. That was the 1.4. Now the 2.1, it's right up at the tip of the valley at Kenilworth, Utah. Man, dude, all these power lines and substations. So it's got to be some kind of arcing explosion, maybe? Electrical coming up out of the crust. Boom. Okay, here's the earthquake epicenter on this. And you'll see these little pads in the ground up here. Every little pad has a pipeline and a jack and a pump. And they connect from point to point, from pad to pad. Now, this is strictly gas, I think, at this point. So, gas extraction. But they do oil all the way across here. All of these little pads in the ground are different oil and gas pumping operations. Take a look. You can see the shadow of the jack right there with the pipeline just laid out on the ground. Okay, well, it's all over the place that way. And all of these little specks on the ground are different drill points. And it goes down across the mountain range and goes back down to the valley here where it picks up at Helper on this side, with all of these pumping operations. So we're at a series of oil and gas pumping ops where the 2.1 is. So 1.4 next to the power substation and the quarry. And then the 2.1 at the drill point. Well, that's weird because we have two of the same sized earthquakes down at the Arrow, right? 1.4 and a 2.2. Marysvale, Utah. Let's go see what's down at Marysvale. Same size, 1.4. Acquiring minds want to know. So do I. We haven't done this in a few days, so you know what? It's pretty interesting. Pretty darn interesting. Is there anything of any significance? Oh, wait. Hold on. Looks to me like we've got another set of high-capacity, high-voltage power lines here. Another set. And they're huge. They really are big. And they go on for miles. And we're right next to the earthquake epicenter again. Within a few miles. So I think this is really spreading out in the crust a few miles. And do we have more? No, these are 2 roads. But I think that the energy is spreading out a few miles, and we get the earthquake within a short distance of the power lines. And the hotspots are something entirely separate, but still related. 1.4, 2.1. 1.4, 2.2. And they're also the same size. Let's go put the 2.2 in. Let's just seal the deal. Let's go see what's there. Might not be anything there. I've never looked this one up. I haven't looked up any of these. Oh, wait. Mineral Mountains Cove Fort. We're right on the side of Mineral Mountains Cove Fort, but look how close we're going to these power lines. We're right at the power lines now. And there's 2 of them plus a microwave tower here. Radio tower. And it goes down the hill. Look, there's 3 sets of them here. That's where the earthquake goes right down to. This is where the power lines branch off. Looks like one set goes to the west by southwest. The other goes across up to the north. And that's where the earthquake is. Or does that go up to the north? No, it branches off west-southwest. Goes right into the volcano. So wait. This power line, this drill point for oil and gas, this power generation station, and this volcano and power line. What about another 2.4 and 1.7? I shouldn't say another, there wasn't a previous. What about a 2.4 and a 1.7? Magna, Utah. Now this gets into the bunkers. The bunker facility. Thiokol. ATK orbital systems. What do we have here? We got a junkyard. Look at that. Dude. Alright. So, looks like we've got a little area out here. Wait. What is all this? These are all quarries. And wait, what are all these? These are all bunkers right down here. So, all of these bunkers and mining operations, this is the BP mining facility as well, where they sort out the ore and they have the drill points and the mines that go down pretty far. I think they go down at least 1 kilometer. But yeah, we're right below it, or right next to it. Now, I did not zoom in any closer to see if there's anything else of any significance here nearby. There could be huge power generation here or something, but as far as I know, this is next to Thiokol. This is their location, and I don't know what to make of this. It looks like some kind of drone, maybe a drone racetrack of some kind. It might be a private citizen-owned place. Okay, so again, we're right next to it. There's the bunker facilities, right on the side of it. Up to the north, 1.5. Millville, Utah. Now, I think we're on the Wasatch Fault, and, you know, the Wasatch Fault has been getting hit recently with a series of earthquakes, which really are just on the edge of the craton. The edge of the craton. Okay, where are we? One more time. Let's look around and see if there's anything nearby that stands out. Hiram. Well, that stands out. I'm doing the... All right. What else do we have down here? Well, we got ourselves a little creek or a river. Well, the good news is, for once... Oh, wait. We've got a hot spot right nearby. Right now. Right on the side of the lake. What the heck? In the water? Right at Fish Haven. Well, we got to go look it up. Let's go look and see the hotspots. Let's go see if it's showing up on satellite. Let's go look on shortwave, infrared, localized sectors up here next to Salt Lake City. Is that right? Northeast of Salt Lake City. Oh, wait. That's technically going into southeast Idaho, isn't it? It is. Okay, we have to go one state to the north. Localized sectors, southeast Idaho. Down here, right at the border. Yep. Just ever so slightly, you can start to see them pop off. Just a couple of them, though. Something's popping off there. Some kind of hot signature there. What could do that? Looks like it's been going for a little bit there. Wow. All right, well, now I'm curious. Now we got a hot spot there. We got an earthquake right next to it. Hey, hold on. We've got some hot spots appearing currently on the west coast. Right along Oregon's coastline. Down here in southwest Oregon. No way. Hold on. Southwest Oregon? Hold on. Isn't something happening in southwest Oregon? Let's go compare. Yep. Tremors. Whole bunch of tremors happening right there. That's where all the little red dots are. So tremors are happening there, and we go back over and look at the satellite, and, well, there's our current imagery as of right now. They just appeared in the past couple hours. Middle of the day, just appearing there along the coast. Let's go see if it's cloudy or not. Completely clear day. Look at that. Well, a little foggy. Clear and foggy. Well, now I'm very intrigued. So let's take a greater look at the area, see if there's anything else going on. Let's actually look at a sub-regional view across southwest Oregon, California, Nevada, all of Nevada pretty much. There's like nothing across all the other states. Just up in Idaho and over in Oregon. Okay, look, I mean, when I see something like that going on, I want to go check everywhere now. Now we got to go check the hot spots everywhere. Are they flaring off? Looks like we have some down here in Mississippi and Alabama. Jeez. Boy, this update could just keep going and going and going. It's the Energizer Bunny update. Okay, let's recap. Let's just so in case you're just tuning in or you're getting bored, you've lost track. It's totally boring for some people probably, but yeah, I'm still interested. We have stacks of earthquakes up here at Yellowstone, above the magma chamber for Yellowstone. We have a series of explosions going on next to power generating substations, power lines. We also have a few quarries nearby, but then we have explosions next to spots that don't have quarries. And they're all the same sized earthquakes. 1.7, 1.7, 1.7, 1.7, and 1.4, 1.4, 1.5. The biggest of the bunch coming in next to the volcanoes. As we go down to the south, we get down to the power generating station down at Clear Lake Volcano, Anderson, which is swarming out. We go over to the east and we have a line of earthquakes around the giant oval shape, which I think is a caldera, between Lake Tahoe and Pyramid Lake. We go further down to the east by southeast, and we're around the supervolcano, which has its own power generating station, which I didn't even show you, inside of the volcano, directly at Long Valley, where all these earthquakes are happening here. I didn't even show that to you. I gotta show it to you because there's going to be new people here who are going to like, huh? What are you talking about? I'm proving to you that all the locations are either at volcanoes, drill points, or in this case, power lines, power generating stations. So right down in the middle of the caldera, right here, they've drilled in to get steam to turn these turbines, which are providing electrical power to power all of Mammoth Mountain Ski Resort and so forth. The only spot that I haven't looked up here is along the California coast, coming out of the Bay Area and going down to the east by southeast, and of course Southern California. But along the coast, let's start up here, right around the Bay Area, a 1.0, Alamo, California. Zooming in on the spot, you see we're right next to Mount Diablo State Park. Mount Diablo. You guys remember the thousands of earthquakes that struck here a few years ago? I made a post about it, looked up history on the location, and it has volcanic tuftage, lava flows, that are on the top of Mount Diablo. And professionals, I made a post saying that it was an ancient volcano, and they actually debated that and said that there was no volcano there. They then backtracked it after I presented the books and stuff that I found from Google, whatever resources. And they then said, well, it is a lava flow up on top, but it had to have happened a long time ago, back when it was all below in the ocean. So it's like an undersea flow that's up on top. Anyway, let's go in and see, is there anything here nearby? So we have the earthquake epicenter there, a bunch of houses on one side. Over here, it looks like we have a bunch more on the other. Let's see. I don't see anything else of any significance here nearby. This is the spot that burned. We did have a bunch of fires that broke out here nearby. And we also have the Hayward Fault that comes out of the area. So let's just open up the Hayward. Show it to you. Our earthquakes coming into Northern California, coming down through the Bay Area. And over here, the Hayward Fault. Right in there. So coming down, meeting up, and then going back into the San Andreas. And that's where these earthquakes are up to the north. Once we get down southeast of Monterey Bay, we're strictly on the creeping section of the San Andreas, and we stop here. Parkfield, California. And I show this all the time. This is a regular occurrence to come down to Parkfield and stop. But it doesn't fully stop, it just stops on the San Andreas. Jumps over into the valley at this point. This is a jump over point. Off the San Andreas. We come down the San Andreas, we jump over. Why? Over here at Coalinga, thousands of drill points meet up with the San Andreas. This is the San Andreas here, and the thousands of drill points come down and around and go around the bend down to the south. And let me show them to you. A picture speaks 1,000 words, and 1,000 wells in a picture speak 1,000,000 words. There we are. That's where the earthquakes come down and stop, but then, like magic, we pick back up to the southeast tip of the valley with pretty much the same sized activity along the Garlock, and again, on the Garlock, it's the southeast tip of the valley. Let me show you what's here. We'll pull the 3.0 down by Arvin, California. Show you on good old Google Earth what's there. Behold! Look at the screen. Well, I see something going through the fields. Do you see it? Power lines again. Big one. So these big power lines, they connect down to the south, but this is all a large oil pumping operation. Both sets of power lines come together here and go down into the desert and carry on further down to the south, where we have power generation going on. Turbines, again, and the electrical generation there is major. Comes out, goes right up across, and we're right next to it. I mean, we are literally right next to the power lines. And again, they're the big kind. So there's two sets, at least, and both of them are right next to the earthquake. And the power lines go down to the drill points, or where the drill points also exist. It's not that the power lines are going to the drill points. They're just right next to each other. Oil and gas. I'm telling you guys, there's something going on. And that's where the 3.0 is. The other smaller go over to the east-northeast and down to the east-southeast. Out here in the middle of the Mojave, I think we got some explosions. And look at these. They're listed as quarry blasts because these are actually at a quarry. And they're doing boron extraction here. Mining. Boron. Borax, or is it boron? Anyway, it's at Boron, California. A line of quakes going into the east-southeast direction from the Garlock. So let's just show it to you here. This is the Garlock Fault. Do you see which way it goes? Southwest and northeast. We got a line of earthquakes bundling up or backing up on the back side of here. Coming down the San Andreas, going off the valley, backing up right through here. But it's not flaring up over to the east. Take a look. Past 2 days. It's not that much. Over to the east. So it's all kind of focused right in down here in Southern California, and it has not broken yet. We're expecting it to go. LA Basin should break very soon, and it should be into the 4 range or greater. This diagonal line of quakes goes down across through the San Andreas, through Yucaipa, Banning, down west of Salton Sea, and dead ends into the Mexico border. But down where it dead ends into the Mexico border, there's something there. Let me show you. Westmoreland. And right down in here is where we go, El Centro, and we dead end right next to the solar farm and the electrical generating turbines, geothermal, getting the steam from the volcano here. So it all ties together. We go back up to the north. Which ones did I not look up? Oh man, I missed a set. Hold on. We have to go down here into South Nevada and go look these up. Oh man, this always gets everyone's attention, especially new people. New people, when you see where we're going. We are going to a nuke test site, the U.S. nuclear test site. But don't worry, we are not doing nukes here right now. These are just man-made faults from when they blew it apart previously. Okay, we're east of Crater Flats, but see where it says Ray Sand Volcanic Buttes? This is Doomtown, Operation Rise Line. You guys may know the story about it or not. Just feel free to look it up if you want to. Doomtown, Operation Rise Line. Here's all the underground nuke test sites. Every one of these a different crater from a different blast. U.S. nuke Operation Purple. March 18th, 1966, 7 kilotons. Just one of hundreds that are across the valley there. That's where the cluster is. So there's a few other oddballs that I did not look up. For instance, the 2.2 out here at the California-Nevada border, and the 1.5, like I said, surrounding the California-Nevada border up to the north. Should we go look up the 2.2 out in the middle of nowhere? Let's go do it. Do it. Oh, wait. We're out there at the quarry blast. Uh-oh. Primm, Nevada. At a quarry. In the middle of nowhere. Middle of the desert. Let's go see it. Well, there's the quarry. There's the highway. Wonder what their quarry... Wow, that's a deep one. Wait. Look at the power they're generating there. Well, I guess you need that power to do all that mining. Oh, wait. What's all that? We have a huge power generation situation going on here. These are solar farms. All of these are solar farms, too. It looks like crops, don't they? These are all solar farms. That's the kind where they direct the beams to a central boiling point at the center, where they heat that up at the top on a big tower. These are all regular solar panel farms. Wow, that's a lot. Another electrical generating earthquake. How about out in the ocean? The only one. Is this like one that's an actual earthquake out on a fault that doesn't have any power line nearby it, no drill points, no volcanoes? Could it just be a lone fault zone earthquake? They're pretty rare, aren't they? To just get an earthquake on a fault that's not related to anything else. It's pretty rare. Like, not joking. So, Santa Cruz Island, isn't this where they do all the... Hold on. Santa Cruz, I could swear that this is like a military test range. Isn't it? I thought it was. Hold on, let's see. Because they have like big radar stations and stuff here. Don't they? I thought they did. Pretty sure they do. Oh, man, I gotta look this up. I'm operating on memory here. Military test range, I think it's on Santa Cruz. Let's find out. Gotta ask the internet. Whoop. Whoa, if I could spell. Range, Santa Cruz, California. Navy test training ranges. SCI, 25 miles west of Point Mugu. The Navy leases a mountaintop. Hold on. Eastern end of the island for instrumentation. Aha! I knew it. Okay, so on the east end of the island of Santa Cruz, or is it the east end of down there? That's what it looks like to the east end down there, but could be that they lease the mountaintop up here, but I'd have to find the facility. It should be pretty easy to find if it's there. Oh, yeah. No? Well, we got some kind of major towers and solar panels out there. Well, there's some kind of radio antenna complex on the side of there, for certain. It's close enough that I'm interested. I really am. I'm interested to see if there's a relation between the radio towers. We have to watch the radio towers just like we have to watch the high voltage generation stations. Same thing. AC, alternating current of radio waves, can have the same effect that the alternate AC in your power can have. Well, they're both AC. Anything else of any significance going on? Well, across Oklahoma, right on the edge of the Craton, we have a series of earthquakes at the drill points going across Oklahoma, and South Missouri going into Arkansas. We have a new little outbreak of activity in the past 2 days. So this pretty much wraps it up. We have not seen major large earthquake activity yet in the West Pacific or in the United States. We have spreads of 4s and 5s going out, and you can see them here even in the past day and a half, 2 days, going down to New Zealand and out all the way over into Asia. Spreading as far north as Japan and as far west, like I said, as Asia, I guess technically the Middle East. West Coast United States started slipping again. Professionals said it stopped. Man, they shouldn't have said that, because it didn't. It didn't stop. It's moving again. And it's moving with hundreds of tremors, meaning that the plate's going to compensate again. You remember what happened over the past couple weeks? We had 5.0 range activity come rolling into the plate. Well, that's going to happen again. Now, this time, I think the locations that I warned 4 days ago are going to be the spots to get hit still. We still have 2 to 3 days in the warning, so I won't cancel it until day 7 gets here. But we're rapidly approaching that. Like I said, like 2 or 3 more days at the most in the warnings for all of the locations that I have going, including the east coast of the United States over by Delaware. So we'll see. I've been wrong before. No doubt I'll be wrong again. But I'd rather be wrong than have a roof on your head, or for something to be broken across your floor in the middle of the night and you not to be prepared for it and have to run out through it. So I'll get back on all day long and beat myself up or try to figure out why I got it wrong, if I did get it wrong. But we'll wait. Let's not preemptively judge it, like my trolls do, and we'll wait until it's over. So, 2:33 p.m. Central Time. It's a bit of a long update this time, and it's not exactly the funnest update. I'm not super jovial today. I got my reasons. But I think that overall, I would like to tell you guys, you need to have an earthquake plan. You need to know what to do when an earthquake strikes. Again, whether you love me or hate me or don't know who I am, please at least take the time to develop an emergency kit and an earthquake plan. The emergency kit will come in handy for severe weather, it'll come in handy for evacuations like fires or floods, and you have a change of clothes, a set of shoes, extra documentation like IDs, your birth certificate, or a copy of that. Have a set of keys, like I said. Also, medicines. You need to have your medicines if you require those. First aid and sanitation. These days, you probably need a mask too. Not that I'm a proponent of that, but you never know. So just have those things into a bag and be ready to go at a moment's notice. And you'll be way better off than all the other people who refuse to prepare. I want to thank everybody over on Twitch. You see them scrolling by here on the left-hand side of the screen. If you're watching on YouTube, you're watching a recorded event that gets re-uploaded over on YouTube. But for those of you who are on Twitch, thank you so much for supporting my operation. I see that a lot of you have gifted, and that really makes a difference. And it gives other people subscriptions to watch. So that's really, really cool. Thank you so much. And for everybody who is watching on YouTube, you guys are doing your part to get the warnings out and get the videos out. I've noticed a huge increase. And it really helps to have thousands of people sharing your info. That really has made a difference between people getting the warnings and not. Just basic math. I'll be back if anything else goes down. Look out for this. We'll upload it in just a few over on the tubes. Peace out.